one of Vince McMahon's personal trainers decided to go on, I believe it was Instagram, and make a comment about Vince not being able to attend WrestleMania. He says, quote, Vince McMahon was unable to attend his first WrestleMania. How quickly people forget that without his vision, there would be no wrestling or WrestleMania. Sadly, when a person is down, the people who say they love you turn their backs on you. Then he put in another caption, don't judge a man without getting all the facts. Things aren't always as they appear. All of that may very well be true. May very well be true that Vince is being set up for failure. It may very well be true that his family, from Stephanie and Triple H and all of the boys and everything, who for years have said that they supported Vince and had his back, are turned out to be snakes. All of that may very well be true. But ultimately, you're dealing with a corporation here. Corporations are risk averse. They don't want anything that could potentially blow up in their face. Vince has not been exonerated of anything. And most people are not exonerating Vince of anything because they have a very simple shotgun concept. It's birdshot. Even if I don't kill you with this one, you're guilty of something. And that's been generally the idea. Well, we can't get Trump on one thing, but he did something. We accuse him of enough things that he's guilty by volume, not by actually being guilty. So if we just say Vince did all of these horrible things, take your pick. And and then at that point, you can go around knocking these things one at a time. But if it's 1,000 fucking things, people are just going to be like, he's been accused of blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah, blah. That's reason enough. Once you have that much dirt on your name, that's reason enough for people to excommunicate you and not want anything to do with you. And you're guilty by volume, not by actual behavior. There's nothing, no proof that's been shown outside of a couple of text messages that show that Vince did anything wrong. There has been no other talent outside of maybe Ronda Rousey bitching and complaining that has said that Vince did anything wrong, But he still can't come back. Even if he beats this case, he still can't come back because he was accused of a bunch of other things. Because there is still other NDAs out there. Because, the money, he was accused of money laundering. He's under federal investigation. Like, there's still so much stuff that's going on. You can't just bring this guy back. Not right now. Vince, this is something. Vince has been buried in paperwork that he's going to be sussing out for the rest of his life. This guy is almost 80. It takes forever to get through legal issues. Sometimes cases go 5 or 10 years. If this case goes 5 years and he doesn't give up and he spends money on it, this thing could go until he's like 84 or 85 years old, if he even lives that long. The chances of him settling out of court is far higher than him getting exonerated by a jury or a judge in a court of law. And then if he settles, people are going to assume that's guilt. And again, by volume of, well, he paid out money again, that's reason enough to believe that he's guilty. So he's in a situation, same situation like Michael Jackson was in, right? Michael Jackson beat the case, but through sheer volume of people saying that he molested them, people say, well, okay, maybe he didn't molest this one kid. Maybe he didn't molest this other kid either. But there's 15 other kids who say that they did it. Why would all of those people lie? Why would all of them make it up? And you're guilty by volume. And once that happens, you're fucked. You can't be on television anymore. You can't be involved anymore. And it sucks if this is true and Vince didn't do all this stuff. But most people, especially if they hate Vince already, they say he's guilty of something. I don't know what it is. I don't have any evidence. But through the sheer volume of stories throughout 40 years of him running the business, of very different wrestlers popping up out of nowhere saying Vince did this, Vince did that, I saw this, I saw that, misinterpreting things. Oh, women used to come out of his office crying. I mean, crying in joy or crying in sadness? Did he just fire them? Did he just tell them no to something? Was he harshly critiquing their work? We don't know. That person doesn't even know. He's just telling a story on a podcast. Girls who's come out of office crying. She must have been doing something to those girls in there. You don't know. But there's so many people telling so many stories, and it's been going on for so long that they finally figure this is enough. Enough is enough. You know, he's been able to power out and kick out at two at pretty much everything. Now, he's got to get excommunicated. This is new ownership. The new ownership want a fresh start. And the new ownership who wants a fresh start does not want Vince there. There's nothing he can do about that. I understand it might be frustrating. I understand it might be pissy. But it's the facts. And I actually support them in that. I don't support the full erasure of Vince and pretending that he didn't happen and we got to change every little thing that he was a part of. But I support him not being there. I support him not being backstage. Because if he takes a picture with John Cena backstage, they're going to think he was booking the show all over again. And then people never get a clean break from the Vince McMahon era. It's time. You know, even if even if he's innocent, it's time. He's 80. It's time for him to go home. All right? It's time. And I definitely think if these people have turned their backs on him, like, you know, people believe that Stephanie and Triple H and all these people are being phony and they're grinding the knife in Vince's back and all this kind of stuff. Maybe so, you know, but that's their cross to bear if that's what they're doing. They know more about this stuff than I do. The only thing I can say is I'm tired of the litany of stories about Vince McMahon being tied to WWE. And I'm not even really I was an investor in WWE. I haven't invested in TKO. So, whatever. But even I got tired of that stuff. The sheer number of stories of gossip out there is a distraction. It's a distraction to the audience. It's a distraction to the corporate machine. It's a distraction to the talent. It's a distraction. And people want to go forward without these distractions. I don't agree with the complete and total erasure of Vince McMahon and we're going to take him out of everything and blur his face. 100% agree with Vince should not be hanging around WrestleMania. He shouldn't be there. You know, even if he beats this case in 6 months, if he beats this case before the next WrestleMania next year, I still don't think he should be there. He can call the talent and hang around or, you know, FaceTime them or something like that. But he shouldn't be at the corporate offices. He shouldn't be backstage at the shows visiting. He should just stay away. Vince being there puts the sponsors on edge. It puts the talent on edge. It puts the corporate structure on edge. And companies are risk averse. They don't want Vince McMahon there. He shouldn't be there. You know, I understand all the work he did. I celebrate Vince. I think he's great. But ultimately, I support their decision to move forward. It's the right decision to make.
MagMongoSlade. Best house I ever drew, Daddy.